Looking forward to talking to you tonight. And I'm going to get started. I believe I should. So, my opening question is, how's everybody doing? At a virtual conference I was at last week, there were 3 words that were spoken at the conference that I haven't really been able to get out of my mind. And so it's influenced the way I'm going to speak tonight about how you might use the Enneagram. And those 3 words were crisis, management, fatigue. Crisis, management, fatigue. And when I heard those words, it really got my interest going, because crisis management fatigue is an actual mental health condition that people get when they're in a prolonged time of stress, and it's been noted that people like in war zones where wars go on for quite a while, or if there's been a big catastrophic sort of natural disaster and everything's decimated for a long time, and people are managing in the midst of crisis. But even the best people, after it goes on for quite a while, there's a sort of crisis management fatigue that sort of hits everybody, and or that people go through, and especially when there isn't any end in sight. Like if we knew that this current pandemic situation, the lockdown, the economy, and all the things that are associated with it, if we all knew it was going to end on a certain date, then we would sort of orient ourselves, look forward for the date and go, yippee, the day's here, it's all over. But where it's a prolonged and it's sort of an ill-defined thing. So if you've been following with me on the Enneagram, one of the things that the Enneagram's really good at identifying is what happens to you when you are under stress, and sort of what direction you go towards when you're under stress. And I've spoken about that before. But what this crisis management fatigue got me thinking about is, it's quite one thing to sort of be under personal stress if you've got a personal thing going on, but this is like a systemic, prolonged stress that we're all under, and we're all trying to do the best we can, whether it's educate our own children at home, we're trying to, work out how to work from home, how to communicate with loved ones without physically touching them, but really staying in close contact. We're very alert about our health and the health of our loved ones. So this prolonged systemic stress, how does that affect us? And so since I've heard about that, I wanted to sort of, if you don't mind, sort of take that angle and just acknowledge that probably we're going to start seeing a lot of people exhibit signs of crisis management stress. And maybe we already are. Maybe I already am. I think I might be in some ways. So I did a little research, and I got this information from Dr. Elizabeth Pierre, Dr. Elizabeth Pierre, like how the French write Peter, that's her name. She's a professor at North Park University, and she's a trauma expert. And so I was recommended to listen to her. She's got a podcast that I listen to, and she talked about burnout. And so actually crisis management fatigue leads to burnout, and we've heard about burnout. And burnout she describes as a response to prolonged stresses at work, and that's when people get burned out. And so it's very well known that people that are under stress for a long period of time, actually we say they burn out, and it's prolonged stress at work. And so she started talking about this burnout thing, and the first thing she asked, which I thought was a good Enneagram question, is it's really important for you to become aware of how you carry stress. Where do you actually feel it in your body? And as she was speaking, she said, where do you carry it? Do you feel it in your head? Do you feel sort of tension in your head? Do you feel it in the gut? Do you feel it on your shoulders? Do you feel it in your hands clenched or in your neck? Where do you sort of feel it? And I was beginning to think about how the Enneagram talks about the triads of emotional core. And we've got, people that are 8s, 9s, and 1s. They're sort of people that are gut people. And I wonder if they carry their stress in their gut, if that's part of it. And then we've got people that are like 2s, 3s, and 4s. They're sort of people that really feel it deep within their heart or in their soul. It's like an ache in that part of them. And then 5s and 6s and 7s, they're more in their head and it's tension there. So apart from all that, I just wonder if you thought about that. Where do you carry your stress in your body? I think understanding your own body is really important and paying attention to it. And she talked about how signs of this crisis management fatigue, often it manifests as people sort of just saying they're tired, obviously, all the time. And a lot of what I've been hearing lately is, I'm sick of this, I'm tired of this. Can we just stop doing this? And then along with that can come cynicism or something like that. And other poor boundaries. We say things that we normally wouldn't say that are out of bounds. We normally, it could be bad language, but it could just be, just letting rip and just having a meltdown. Another, she said, a very typical sign is our eating behaviors, either eating more or eating less or not eating enough. And this is all signs that we're going through like chronic stress or something like that. So as we were thinking about that, the thing that she said that I really wanted to hone in on tonight, if you feel like that you are in a prolonged time of stress, you're sick of it, whatever, I think the Enneagram can be a real tool to help you recover. And so the thing that she said that was really, I thought, critical was, it's a really bad idea to sort of cope with this stress thinking that, one day, maybe on the weekend I'll have a day off. Like, we've got a public holiday in the United States coming up on Monday. Good, I'll take a day off. I can relax then. Or when the pandemic's over, I'm going to go on a big vacation. Well, the trouble with burnout is, if you want to manage it, you have to have daily recovery, because the stress is constant and it never lets up. And so really what we've got to do is establish stuff in our daily lives where our body and our soul and our spirit can recover in the midst of ongoing stresses. And so, a lot of people erroneously think that they'll just work hard, get through it, keep working. But if you do not take daily recovery, then you are a really good candidate for burnout, because your body can't handle that. And so this is where we can start looking at what the Enneagram can help us with. And I'm going to revisit something I spoke about in one other session here, but I'm going to talk about, I've chosen a practice that I think every Enneagram type could do. And even if they did 10 to 20 minutes of this every day, especially if you're feeling this chronic stress, I really believe it could help you. And I really believe that it could actually be helping your body to recover in the midst of these uncertain times. So if I may, that's why I said you might want to get a pen and write this down. And I sort of want to challenge everybody that's listening. What would it be like for you to give 10 to 20 minutes a day to this practice? Let's see if this practice would actually help you recover in these times. And so I've chosen one thing for each Enneagram type, and I'll tell you why I've chosen that one for that type. So I'm going to go right through for type 1. which is the reformer, a really good practice for you would be getting a journal and journaling about your own imperfection. And why this is a good practice is, instead of stuffing that within, getting it out of your body and on a piece of paper, and if you're a person of prayer, giving it to God would be a really good idea. But most ones suppress and carry all their tension inside. So journaling about your own imperfection. And most ones actually know that every day they don't have to look far. They're very aware of their imperfections. So journaling about it, getting it out there. Twos, helpers. Centering prayer is a really, really good thing for twos, helpers. Why? What is centering prayer? Well, centering prayer is just a practice of getting a phrase or something to meditate on, a very short prayer or meditation that you would speak, and you sit down and you quit trying to be helpful to everybody else, and you just keep coming back to that phrase. So what twos will do is their minds will wander and they'll think, you know what, I should be helping do this, or I should give that person a call. So a centering prayer takes your little divergent mind and brings it back to a phrase. And it's just like, if you know the Bible story, there was a lady called Mary who just sat at Jesus' feet. And actually, I'm pretty sure her sister Martha was a helper. And Jesus said to Mary, you've chosen the good thing, just to sit at my feet and to focus on me or focus on that. Quit trying to do everything. And I believe 10 to 20 minutes where you would actually center. So Barbara's here. What would be a good centering prayer type prayer? You know, just a phrase that people have used.
I often say, come Lord Jesus.
Yeah, it could be just come Lord Jesus. That's a really good one. Or you know, God, I need you. Mm-hmm. Or God, help, just bring me into your presence. Help. Scott saying help. Centering prayer is really good, and if twos, you could just do that and just think of yourself like Mary sitting at the feet of Jesus and saying, I'm not going to be a Martha right now, I'm going to do that. Number 3 is the achiever, and a 10-minute practice of confession would be really good for achievers. And there's a particular type of confession. I want to invite 3s out there to confess what's really beneath the surface of your busyness. Why are you so busy? What's really underneath that? And confess, try and get there. And so the real practice here is self-examination, trying to think, why am I so busy trying to do everything, achieve everything? Self-examination and humility is a really good practice. So confession is, you know, I need to quit trying so hard and confess what's really under there. And it could be, I want people to think good of me. I really want to get this done. I want to do an excellent job. I want to be the best at this. Confess those things and just go, God help me. That's driving me to insanity, right? So confession is a really good thing. 10 minutes of doing that would be very helpful. 4 is the individualist, and the practice for them that could really rejuvenate them is Thanksgiving. Making a list of things that you are thankful for in the midst of these prolonged stresses. So actually taking a moment and sitting down and writing a gratefulness list would be an excellent practice for Enneagram Type 4. Now here's the other thing I want to say. If these people already find that very difficult to do, I want to exhort you to reach out to a friend. And initially, if you struggle to find anything to be grateful for, reach out to a friend and ask them, help me write a list of things that I could be grateful for during this time. And so use your phone or text, and if you do have a list, even if it's 1 or 2 things, here's the rest of the practice for the 4. communicate your gratefulness to someone else. Even you might even want to post it on Facebook or something, but fours, it's very important that they express what they're grateful for. And it could be the birds singing or a beautiful day. I've got a friend to call today. It could be any of those things. But that practice will bring you into recovery during a time of stress. Fives, the investigators, a practice for you is sharing some good news with someone else. So fives are very internal sort of thinkers, and they're people observers, but they're also research people. And so I wanted to challenge a five to identify something that's good, that they know is genuinely good, and share it. And them sharing something that's good with other people is a really good recovery practice for them, because they often get frustrated that people aren't, researching as deep as they are. So instead of getting frustrated, share something you've discovered that you think's really helpful. Share it, write about it, share it, text it, whatever. That will transform a five, and it will bring recovery to them. Because do you know what? I have a really close friend that's a five, and he will say, you know what, Ross, I had this idea. He has great ideas. I am so glad that he shares it with me, and I know that that's doing something for him, just the act of sharing it. Sixes are loyalist. They're not going to like what I'm about to say. It will be a very difficult practice, but it will transform you, sixes, if you do this. Memorize a scripture or a wise proverb or a wise saying on a daily basis. So you can pick one thing and memorize it each day and practice that. Or you could, if you've got a good memory, you start memorizing a wise saying or a piece of scripture that speaks to you. Look for wisdom sayings though, and memorize that. There's many of them in the Bible. Then use it. Use it to yourself. Sort of memorize it and speak it to yourself. But also know this, sixes, you know this about you. People come to you for advice. So start equipping yourself with some wise words and then use it. And it is a wonderful thing when a six realizes, hey, I've got something to say on that, and they share it. So it actually brings recovery to people. So really, sixes, start memorizing, not as a legalistic thing, but it's almost like equipping yourself for when people are going to come and ask you advice, because they will, and they will do it. But did you hear what I said? Make sure you take your own advice too. So that's a really good thing for sixes to practice, memorization. Sevens, my wife has been waiting for this, thinking, well, what's he going to do? Because I'm a seven, which is an enthusiast. The thing that I need to do is practice daily complete silence for 10 or so minutes. Why? Because sevens need to notice what they're truly feeling. Whether it's, we don't like to feel sad or down or angry or anything we consider. So sevens are escape artists. But if we actually would silence ourselves to be still, to be with God and sit with God with that feeling, and quit trying to escape it or crowd it out with other experiences, and to be able to rest those feelings in the hands of God, if we were to do that, that would really transform us. And I find for me that when I'm in a good rhythm, I do that early in the morning when there are no distractions. And that means don't listen to music, don't pick up a book. Just try and just be as still as I can possibly do. And I have shared this with you. I try and unfurl my clasped hands and breathe and just come into a place where I'm just trying to be as silent as possible. Most of my noise though is in here, like it's my monkey brain jumping around.
End of day would be good too.
Barbara's saying end of day, she's telling me that.
Not just beginning of day. It's a good one.
Yeah, so that, especially in prolonged stress, to really enter into the silence is important for a 7, probably others too. 8s are challenges. Again, this is a difficult practice, but I just want to encourage I challenge you challengers to really establish accountability relationships and use them on a daily basis. That's what a challenger needs to do to really not come to burnout. Someone that you could hold yourself accountable to, someone that you might even empower with a question that you need to be asked. So, for example, I had a person live with us for a while that was an 8, and the question he wanted me to ask him, because I wasn't with him the whole time, did he get angry at work today? And he admitted, yeah, I got angry driving the car. I gave somebody a rude finger on the way to work, or whatever it was. But that was very helpful for him to have that question asked. And the thing that 8s struggle with in prolonged sort of crisis or crisis management is being strong for everybody else. But the reality is, there are areas in your own life that you don't like to admit, but they're weaknesses. And so for you to practice being accountable and admitting what that weakness is to someone else and having people ask you about that is a very good thing. So you can do that by using text or whatever. I think that's a good thing to do. I think I've only got one left to go through, and that is 9, the peacemaker. I think for a 9, the practice I've actually seen, Barbara's a 9, my wife, and I did see she went through a pretty dark season in her life. Sort of, I would say burnout probably could describe it. And what pulled her out of that sort of burnout pattern was she established a reading plan, and that's what it is for 9s. Get a reading plan. She picked up the book, The Divine Hours, and that sort of led her out of a place of darkness and burnout. And 9s need to pick a reading plan and stick with it. So it could be, a reading plan reading through the Bible, or it could be a reading plan like reading a devotional book or something, a meditative book. Why does that work for 9s? Because it re-centers their soul and it feeds their soul. And 9s get burnt out because they're always caring about everybody else and they're trying to bring harmony to everybody else. And they forget to feed their own soul because they don't really feel like their soul's very important. Well, that's not true. And they are excellent people if they're feeding their own souls and not taking the weight of everybody else's responsibility. So I think Barbara would be open to some of the 9s if they wanted to contact her and say, what could you recommend? What sort of reading plans could work? Barbara's probably got a plenty, but would you say that's true for you today?
Definitely.
So she's saying definitely.
Structure,
you still do that, don't you?
Yep.
And that did pull you out of a burnout situation.
Yep.
So as I said, if you've joined me later on here, crisis management fatigue, I think, is upon us right now. I think that's why we're seeing demonstrations at the Capitol. I think that's why people are like saying, I'm fed up with this, I can't wait to get out, and they're doing maybe some reckless things. I think people are overindulging in alcohol or food, or they're underindulging in food and they're not looking after themselves, because crisis management fatigue usually manifests in a visible body sort of thing, like anger or hunger or those sort of things. But what I just went through with you guys is an invitation for you back to what Dr. Pierre said. If you want to get out of crisis management fatigue, you need to build into your life daily periods of recovery. Not storing up recovery for the next vacation. Oh, when I go to Las Vegas, or when I go on a spiritual retreat, or, whatever it is. that's not going to work. You're going to burn out. You've got to put 10 to 20 minutes of recovery for your soul in your daily life. And so I just wanted to really encourage you to try doing that, to do those sort of practices. So I went through that whole list pretty quickly. If you want to contact me and say, what was number 6 again? And listen, please, if some of those practices weren't your number, I do not think you have to stick to that. If you felt prompted to enter into the silence, go for it. If you felt prompted to write down your imperfections, go for it. If you feel prompted to get into a reading plan, go for it. I am sure there's a little bit of everything in all of you. But really, you're going to get a different result if you start doing something different right now. I really want to exhort you guys to pick up a new practice. Share it with me. Tell me about it, or tell others about it too, because we're not the only ones going through a crisis. I mean, people all over the world, this is a prolonged time. Daily recovery is imperative in prolonged periods of crisis. I am done. But again, I love all your comments. Thank you so much. If you'd like to share with me at the Without Walls Facebook page some comments, that would be great. I just really hope that this tool can help you. There are more practices than what I just prescribed. I chose from a bunch, and I tried to choose one thing for everybody that I thought could be doable. And so, but there are other practices too. So you guys have a great week. I hope this week is a week where you build into your life daily recovery moments. Have a great week. Bye.